So one of the interesting things that comes out of pop culture is we always tend to look at certain figures, and then people try to, well, they gender bend them, or they ship them, or they turn them into something else that better represents what they want to see in that character, rather than creating one of their own. It's not uncommon, happens all the time, and the battle over James Bond has been raging for years. It's been raging for years, and it doesn't appear it's going to be changing anytime soon. However, that might change, just to start off this piece with, simply because you've got Doctor Who premiered yesterday. It's 11th season, or 11th Doctor. I don't know which one is what. And this Doctor is now played by a woman, Jodie Whittaker, and apparently it was really well received by people. It was really well received by the fans of Doctor Who. So one could argue that maybe the producers here might eventually change their mind if they realize that that is what is going to be bringing in a lot of money. And in regards to James Bond, I don't know how it's going to play out, but the franchise took a bit of a hit with the last movie, so they may be looking to the future for something else, but or maybe not. Now, this isn't even coming though from a man. This is coming from Barbara Broccoli, or Broccoli. Is it broccoli? I always looked at it as broccoli. I mean, it's spelled like broccoli, but that doesn't even matter here. Now, she dismisses the possibility of a gender switch for 007, but says a woman may one day direct the franchise. Okay. that to me is one of those things where it's like, well, there will never be a female James Bond, but I might let someone, you know, with boobies direct the movies, sort of thing, right? I guess I could, only one female director I could really think of right now. That'd be like Catherine Bigelow. But anyway, it says here that the future has looked shaky for cinema's biggest hero. The director of the latest adventure quit 14 weeks before shooting. The release date was pushed back. Not so long ago, the actor who played him said he would rather slash his wrists than reprise the role. And all of those things are true when discussing James Bond. They are. All of those things are absolutely true. Bond is a very interesting character because we're 25 movies almost into the franchise. And it does kind of boil down to the fact of, well, where do you take him? Where does Bond go next? Because these are no longer based on the books. They haven't been for quite some time. And even then, I think Ian Fleming would look at where things are now and go, it's maybe a bit much. Now, but there's one thing about which James Bond can rest easy, his manhood. Speaking to The Guardian, 007's executive producer, Barbara Broccoli, ruled out any Doctor Who-style gender reinvention for Ian Fleming's Super Spy, saying Bond is male. He's a male character. He was written as a male character, and I think he'll probably stay as a male. Well, she's been in charge of the franchise for a long time now, so she's the one who clearly makes the call on this. So in her mind, Bond is male. Now, is Bond a white male? I don't know. I mean, everyone really wanted Idris Elba in the role. That was a big push for a while as well. It was make Bond black. Give us a black Bond. Give us Idris Elba as Bond. And the thing is, I'm okay with that. I would be okay with seeing Idris Elba as a 00 agent, but I feel like he would be better served, and it would avoid a lot of controversy if he was, let's say, 006 or 008 or 005, or even if they decided to branch off and give Felix Leiter, the Bond's CIA counterpart, his own series. Now that would be fascinating, and give it to Idris Elba. But then again, that would be a Brit playing an American CIA agent, and people again might have problems with that. You'd have your outrage culture, your outrage warriors coming out there and clacketing on the thing, going, "Oh no, he's an American. That's not Bond. That's not iconic." Even though Jeffrey Wright, who played Felix Leiter in the last couple of films, did an amazing job, and I would love to see him come back for this last one. And she goes on to say here that, and that's fine, we don't have to turn male characters into women. Let's just create more female characters and make the story fit those female characters. To which case, yes, Barbara Broccoli, that is how you approach it. That is how you approach it. You don't sit there and go, look, hey, you know, the fandoms, and what is it? Outlander. There's a show on Starz called Outlander where the fans have shipped many characters, right? They've shipped many of the things, the events in that show. I don't know. I mean, I'm coming at it from a very kind of bird's eye view approach because I don't know everything yet. But one of the actors did say that shipping the characters actually like hurts the actors, right? Like it fucks with them a little bit because the fans want something and the actors can't give it to them, I would assume. And as a result of that, they did say that it bothers them. And other people have come out and been like, the fandom and their demands for how things should go have actually hurt these types of stories, have actually hurt these types of, these type of things. So I don't quite know. I don't quite know exactly where it's going to go with that one. But no, it's true. It's true here though. But Broccoli is right. Broccoli is right. Write your own characters, make those characters work, and make those stories fit those characters. And that is why people should just start writing their own stuff, right? People want to come into these iconic franchises and they want to take it over and they want to make it theirs and they go, I own this. But they don't. I mean, but then things, to be fair, like if you look at, let's say, The Last Jedi and Star Wars, where that's gone in regards to the fandom, though, is all about how the characters were utilized. So some could argue the opposite side of that. But I'm very much on her side here. That's my opinion, is that she's correct. Now, she's 54, and she's the daughter of Albert Cubby Broccoli, who heads EON Productions. By the way, that stands for Everything or Nothing Productions, just as a little trivia bit there, and signs off on every key Bond hire and fire. It was she who tweeted the news Danny Boyle had left the 25th film due to creative differences, she who announced Cary Fukunaga was going to replace him, and she who lured Daniel Craig back into the tuxedo. I'm very curious how she got Daniel Craig back into the tuxedo, considering that Spectre kind of ended his run as Bond very well, I think. Now, it says here that such leverage makes her perhaps the most powerful female producer in the film industry. It also makes her fiercely protective of the family business. Yes, she concedes Bond cannot be considered a feminist property, but mostly because people tend to reference those early movies, which were written in the 50s. So there's certain things in Bond's DNA that are probably not going to change, meaning you can't teach an old dog new tricks, which to many would probably actually agree with that. But at the same time, what you have here is a situation where Bond has evolved and adapted over time, so it's definitely a little bit different now. But she goes on to say, but look at the way the world has changed. And I think Bond has come through and transformed with the times. I would agree. I've tried to do my part. And I think particularly with the Daniel Craig films, they become much more current in terms of the way women are viewed, which I would agree with that as well. Although some might argue that Vesper Lynd being killed at the end of Casino Royale was this fridging Vesper as a way to fuel Bond's rage, which carried over into Quantum of Solace. I would argue that person is probably just an idiot and they should watch Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale back to back, because those 4 hours together are pretty awesome. That's what I'm saying on that one. Anyway, Rosamund Pike, Broccoli's close involvement with the series, starting at age 17, has been credited with keeping the set strikingly safe as a workplace for women. Rosamund Pike has spoken of her good fortune and Die Another Day, being her first brush with Hollywood, saying, I look back over my experience and think, my goodness, Barbara Broccoli was way ahead of all this Me Too movement. She said, there wasn't an ounce of feeling uncomfortable while I was on set. Says Broccoli, I was encouraged to grow with the company, and I felt very supported by my father and my brother Michael, so I always said what I thought if I didn't like something. Now, here's the thing, when it comes to this particular story and why I think it's important and why I went through those last little bits there, is because the way this is an article in The Guardian, and you could already see their particular spin and how they want to push it. And you already know how certain people online are going to push this story, right? Barbara Broccoli says Bond will never be a female, though a woman may direct, and they're going to try to frame that as a very sexist, very bigoted, misogynistic approach. Never mind the fact that this is a female producer who's been in this family business for the last 41 years. And even the article goes on to say that she is remarkably, probably the most powerful female executive in all of Hollywood. And yet they're going to discount all of that because she doesn't want Bond to change. She likes the iconography of the character, and she wants things to remain the same in that regard. But she is trying to make things stay current. And as a result of her being involved, women who have worked on these movies, women who have been on set, been involved with these franchises, have felt like they've worked in a safe environment because someone like her, who has been stern and strict about her beliefs and where she wants things to go, but has also maintained a very safe working environment. And that is something that should absolutely be commended. I mean, honestly, someone like Barbara Broccoli should be commended, because you have a person who very much is protective over her company, over her family's brand, right? Over Bond, over that dynasty, over that character, over that lineage. And she also makes sure that she respects the character, respects the franchise, and makes sure that everyone who is there is respected and everyone who is there is protected and looked after. And I think that's actually a pretty solid thing. I do. I think that's a pretty solid thing that is not going to get a lot of love or a lot of attention from the feminists here in the United States or abroad, because they're never going to read between the lines on it. They're never going to read between the lines over on the situation. They're only going to look at this and go, never a female Bond, not on my watch. And it's just, you know, I mean, I would argue Bond movies aren't made for them. And since we live in a world now where people can sit there and say that this movie is not made for this audience, and that being okay, shouldn't it be all right if Bond is not made for every audience? Now, they want it to be because they want the money, obviously, but I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes in the future, especially what's going to happen once Broccoli steps down. I mean, she's 58. That's still pretty young. But eventually she's going to step down and the franchise is going to continue, and who knows where things are going to go as we progress towards the future. So I would say that probably right now, in the near future, the immediate future, there won't be a female Bond, but you never know who's going to take over, and you never know who's going to want to shake things up or change them up. And it's going to be a very interesting situation when it does happen.